If you want to have a wedding, it's going to cost you $100K.
So I fear we've lost the plot with weddings.
What I'm asking is anyone taking out a loan for your wedding? I know that's so silly, but I don't really have any other choice.
Okay, so today we're going to be talking about wedding debt because some of the numbers that have popped up on my TikTok are off the walls. People are going into massive debt for a one-night party, and I mean in the six figures. And we're also not talking about the super rich. These are normal, everyday people talking about their prices and quotes. And to be honest, I just can't believe it. We have a ton of stuff to go over today, along with comments from you guys from previous videos. So if you want to be featured on a future video, leave in the comments down below. But let's start off with some of the average prices you're going to see in 2026.
Your wedding day should be memorable, but should it cost this much? I'm not so sure. This is the projected average wedding cost in 2026 per the Harpson Journal. Starting off with the venue and catering average projected cost of $13,000, photography and video average projected cost of $3,600, planning and coordination average projected cost of $3,000, floral and decor average projected cost of $3,000, entertainment average projected cost of $2,500, attire and beauty average projected cost of $2,000, rentals and lighting average projected cost of $1,800, stationery and signage average projected cost of $700, transportation average projected cost of $500, miscellaneous average projected cost of $1,000. Total average projected cost for a wedding in 2026, $31,000.
Okay, so we've looked at this user a couple times. He always cuts off the end of his video. I'm pretty sure it's to increase watch time, but the average total cost is $31,100, which if you think that's a lot of money, you've seen nothing compared to what we're going to look at in this video. This is going to be pretty rough, but we'll go over to a question that I asked you guys in an older video. Have you gone into debt because of a wedding? And the overwhelming response from you guys was no, that's ludicrous. However, there were a couple examples here. We should have eloped and just had a courthouse wedding, took out a $29,000 loan in January 2022, and have been paying it down to $10,000 remaining on it today. I had a beautiful wedding, but it was so expensive, around $35,000. We're going to be paying this back through December of 2026. It's a huge monthly payment, $550 a month, and not worth it. Would have rather invested that money into our retirement accounts. My brother went $50,000+ into debt to have a wedding at Disney, and he makes about $70,000 a year. Those Disney adults, man, we've gone over it before. They spend an absolutely insane amount of money. But we'll move on to a clip with another example of somebody taking out a loan for one of these weddings.
My view is your wedding is one day, your marriage is for life. £37,000 worth of debt for one day doesn't start your marriage off particularly well. And I would prefer people out there to protect their marriages and their married life rather than have that one day that puts them in debt. I don't like debt for a wedding. That's a very substantial amount of debt. Now, I don't know how much you earn, but I have my three questions that dictate whether someone's in debt crisis. The first one is, do you have more than a year's salary in debt, not counting mortgage and student loans? Now, if you earn £140,000 a year, that's doable. If you earn £50,000 or £40,000 a year, that's a very difficult amount of debt.
And most of the examples that I see on social media, people talking about how much they spent, they are not making $140,000 a year or $250,000. They have average salaries like everyone else. So $30,000, $50,000, $100,000 worth of debt will take years, if not decades, to pay off. We'll talk about that a little bit later. At least spend it on the honeymoon instead. That's what I've said before. If you truly wanted to spend that kind of money, wouldn't it be cooler to go and travel for weeks or months instead of having that one single party for the night? Married on Sunday, bankrupt by Monday. That one's pretty good. I knew a couple who took out a £20,000 loan and they divorced 2 years later. Loan lasted longer than the marriage. And we also have a comment from you guys here. If you're starting off your marriage in horrendous debt, then it isn't a dream, it is hell. And in this climate where money is tight, you are just asking for more problems in your relationship.
So I fear we've lost the plot with weddings. Somewhere along the way, they've stopped being about just celebrating two people in love, and they've become these full-blown productions, what feel like performances for 200+ people and the entire internet. I'm sorry, but the wedding that you are planning should be about you and your partner only. Period. Not about your great aunt who thinks you should be serving chicken and steak instead of pizza. Not about your coworkers who you barely know, and definitely not about TikTok and Instagram. Social media has completely skewed our expectations around weddings. We are now planning for the masses. We're planning for content creation, for the opinions of other people, and I'm guilty of this. I had a full-blown meltdown this week about whether or not people would think our wedding invitations were cute or not.
It's really amazing how much social media has influenced our life, and I know that's rich coming from you guys on a social media platform right now. But not only are you pressured to spend a ton of money for your friends and family who attend the wedding, but then you need professional level photography, videography, basically on the level of content creation just to get some likes on Facebook and Instagram. So imagine what that's going to cost on top of everything else. We could go over to the comment section. I feel like a lot of people want to have a wedding, not a marriage. Some are okay with getting into 5 or 6 figures worth of debt just for that attention online. But it's not like that'll last forever. Maybe a week's worth of likes and engagement, but just like everything else on the internet, people stop caring and move on. Now we could get into the prices and the quotes people have gotten. We looked at one wedding venue that started at $40,000. That only included the venue, chairs for the reception, ceremony, flowers, and decorating. Did not include catering, alcohol, DJ, or photographer. Truly insane that they could charge $40,000 just to use a building for one day. And this experience is not an outlier whatsoever.
Please make me feel better. How much did you spend on your wedding? What's considered a lot? I live in South Florida. I know prices are a little more expensive here. Everything seems like a lot, and I want to feel a little bit better. And I also want to convince my mom that these prices aren't outrageous, because she thinks $15,000 for a venue is outrageous, and I think that's like kind of reasonable. Am I right? Especially for like the most gorgeous venue in the entire world.
I don't know what venue she's talking about. Maybe she's absolutely in love with it. But even with $15,000 being wildly expensive, in my opinion, there's a lot more examples out there that are much more money. Nothing goes on a credit card. It's one day, and to be honest, you'll be stressed the whole time anyway. You guys saying $35,000 to $120,000 are wild. What a waste. Micro wedding with 50 guests, DIY most decor, still spent $25,000. Another thing that I feel like has been blown out of proportions, apparently having 50 people there is considered a micro wedding now. You apparently have to have hundreds and hundreds of people at your wedding to be considered normal sized, I guess. Here's an interesting comment from somebody who I feel like is just trying to inflate the numbers for his business. Charleston photographer here. Most couples in the area spend somewhat between $100,000 and $200,000. So when he asks $5,000 to $10,000 for some photos, you know, it's not that bad. I see people spend $250,000 on this day. Planning a 2026 wedding looking like it's going to be over $100,000 to $125K for a wedding in Virginia, and it's not even going all out. Saving where we can. You're saving, and it's still a price of a high-end vehicle? In that same argument too, I know if you get an expensive like Mercedes GLS, it'll clearly depreciate and you'll lose a lot of money, but at least you have transportation of vehicle. This just disappears within a weekend. Most venues I inquire start at $35,000 to $40,000. Again, how are so many people affording or paying for these weddings? What does the average couple do? That's a perfect thing to ask, because most of these people are not making $120,000 a year each. They're taking out loans, putting it on credit cards, going into crazy debt. We were hoping to spend under $40,000. So far, the venue, food, and alcohol is a little bit over $70,000. I got quoted for $104,000 for a venue in New Jersey. These comments just go on and on. How do we end up in a world where wedding planners call a wedding between $75,000 and $100K a budget wedding? I just got quoted $150,000 minimum spend for my food and beverage at my #1 venue. What is this? Now, this next clip is a little bit of advice if you are planning on doing all of this, and will probably save you a decent amount of money.
For my brides-to-be, this is just a small reminder. When you are booking things for your wedding, you never tell them it's for a wedding. Ever. You tell them it is for a party. Do not put the word wedding. You're automatically going to add $1,000 to your tab.
I'd probably venture to guess that it would be more than $1,000 added. As soon as the catering company hears it's for a wedding, oh, they're going to jack up their prices. That's what everybody does, because it's widely known that people spend way too much money on this day. I mean, here's a perfect example. If you're looking for me on August 23rd, don't. $14,000 owed to a florist, $13,000 owed to a photographer, $11,200, $7,500, and $27,000 owed to a venue. All of this to be paid for on on one single day. That is brutal. What type of pictures are they taking for $13,000? Everyone's concerned about the florals. I'm wondering what photographer you're getting for 13 grand. I had a heart attack at that $14,000 florals. Is Jesus himself providing the food? I mean, for the price, man, he better be. It's actually not worth it, and the creator responds, please don't tell me this. A little too late. Tell me the most unhinged thing you spent money for on your wedding. We spent $3,000 on McDonald's as an after-party snack for our guests. $25,000 in cancellation fees when we split 2 months before. That money evaporated. $6,000 on all-film black and white unlimited photo booth for party favors. It is a good idea, but for $6,000? Didn't have a wedding. Instead, my parents paid for our down payment on a house. Best decision ever. I agree with that. That puts you way farther ahead financially compared to most people out there today. Got married outside, refused to have porta potties, so I spent $3,000 for a trailer bathroom that had stall sinks and lights. Bougie porta potties, if you will, for $3 grand. Almost $1,000 to release butterflies during our ceremony. Finding out my husband has a fear of them day of was fun. All right then. Is this more common than I thought? $700 on McDonald's cheeseburgers for our post-wedding snack. I've legitimately never heard of this before, and now I've seen comments almost back to back. I spent $10,000 on renting flatware because I didn't like the venue's forks. 10 grand, 5 figures for that.
I just got quoted $50,000 for just a wedding tent. Just the tent.
I just got a catering quote for my wedding for a buffet for $200 to $225 per person. I'm sorry, $225 per person for it to look like a golden corral? This is why your small business stays small, because you're charging way more, 3 times more than what I would pay at a freaking Longhorn for a steak, 2 sides, a salad, and a dessert.
Now we go over to the comment section. Same person who's planning a wedding while being $200,000 in debt, by the way. The creator responds, am I not allowed to get married just because I choose to pursue a career in healthcare? So what that probably means is she racked up $200,000 worth of student loan debt, maybe a little bit less because I've also seen experiences of people racking up credit card debt while they're in school because it's very demanding. They can't really have a part-time job and you still need to survive. But there is another reply. You're the one putting it out on the internet. I think it's amazing that you're getting married, but you were just complaining on an older video, I'm guessing, about how you're in so much debt. I don't know. Doesn't sound like the best financial decision, but best of luck. And especially now when there's no pause on paying back student loans, they'll garnish your wages, they will go after you. It just puts a lot more stress on your life on top of all the wedding costs. We have a comment from you guys right here. I got married at the courthouse and we used a friend's cafe for the function afterwards. The whole thing cost about $2,000. It still probably was a very good time at a fraction of the cost, but again, when we're in the day of social media, everything needs to be bigger and better than anybody else you've seen online, and that also includes the engagement ring.
Forget big weddings, now it's the proposal that's breaking the bank. Couples are dropping serious cash just to pop the question, with some proposals now costing more than the honeymoon or even the ceremony itself. According to the New York Post, one man spent over $14,000, including a private rooftop setup. Another couple flew to Portugal, shelled out $17,000, complete with designer watches, drone footage, a luxury hotel. Experts say it's all about the wow moment and the Instagram likes to prove it, and is being driven by influencers. So what do you think about the pricey trend? Let us know.
This is just getting worse and worse, because no matter how many times I say it and show you examples that most of the influencers and people you see on social media are just straight up lying to you about their lifestyle, it doesn't change the fact that some people still want to replicate it. Now, I personally don't think it's a good idea to have a super expensive large engagement ring, even if you are genuinely super wealthy, but we'll just run this clip before I talk about it a little bit more, because I think this is a perfect example.
I am literally sick to my stomach. I was just about to go to bed and I got an email from my wedding venue that my fiance and I just booked today, so I thought I would read it. You want to know how much weddings cost? Let me just not even. They sent me basically like a what to expect budget wise, and I like jaws on the floor. Catering, full service catering is around $50 to $120 per person. So with 80 guests, expect and budget for $5,500 to $7,000. Early career photographers generally start around $3,000. However, what's showcased on our website is around $4,000 to $9,000. Quality DJs start at about $1,000. Most of our couples end up in the $2,000 to $3,500 range. Estimated budget approximately $700 for linens and napkins. Couples getting married at this venue usually spend between $30,000 to $60,000.
Okay, so I cut off a decent amount just wringing out all the other costs, ending at about $30,000 to $60,000, which is a wide range, but we'll just move on to the comments. Okay, but your ring. If that ring is real, you could afford that wedding. Shake my head. That was most of the comment section. So much so that the creator had to respond, hey, just to clear things up, my ring is a real diamond, and I still do not want to pay $60,000 for a wedding. Hope this helps. You're claiming to have a $400,000 ring, but can't afford a $60,000 wedding. It went on and on. But it does add into the fact that people clearly notice and then now think that you'd be super wealthy. And that's probably not something I would want to show off in today's world. I feel like it just puts a target on your back. I'm not much of a jewelry person in general. I mean, if you have like a ring or two or just a simple necklace, that's fine. But if it's loud and big and flashy in your face, I just think it paints a target on your back and it's just not the safest thing. But speaking of the rings, we have a comment from you guys here. A manager I worked with was engaged to his second wife while still paying off the first wife's wedding ring. Wow. But now we can start going into even more expensive versions of the wedding. Of course, the destination wedding.
Can somebody please explain to me why people want you to travel the farthest distance possible to see them get married? Why they expect you to take all your days off to see two people who live 10 minutes from you get married in a place that costs you $5,000. Do you think we can just stop doing that?
And that's kind of on the cheaper side compared to some of the experiences that I remember watching. One woman was thinking about taking out a loan for $9,000 because of the destination wedding. It's not like everybody's flush with cash right now. I agree, weddings used to be about family and friends, modest, sweet, and sacred. Now it's an expensive production. Pass. And here we go. We got an example right here. How much we paid for our Italy wedding. The venue was $11,000. It was on a weekday, so it saved us money. The welcome party was another $10,000, almost as much as the entire venue. Catering, $35,000 for 100 guests, $350 a plate. Music and lighting, $11,000. Floral and decor, $9,200. Transportation, $4,300. The gown was $6,500. Alterations was another $13,000, and jewelry was $600. Photography, $6,500. Videography, $4,200. That I guess was a friend's discount, and a content creator there, another friend discount, being another $4,500. You're talking about around $15,000 just for that alone. Hair and makeup, another $1,200, and fireworks being $4,600. And that's a grand total of $109,900, not including all of the guests that had to travel there as well. But talking about the photographers and videographers there, we have a clip up on screen. Merry Christmas Eve to all that celebrate except my wedding photographer, who still hasn't provided a photo from my August wedding. As a photographer, I could confidently say, sue them, as long as your contract didn't state that they take over 4 months to get the photos. I never got any and got married 6 years ago. I joke sometimes that we should just get married again and hire someone more reliable so they just ghosted them. I haven't gotten any either from an August bride as well. Imagine paying $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 and you just don't end up getting photos at all. The whole wedding industry is becoming such a scam.
Hi, I'm a 2026 bride that got engaged in July, and it is now almost January. And let me tell you about what we have booked. Wait for it. Nothing. I don't have money to put down a deposit on anything right now because we did just buy a foreclosure and spent all of our money getting it in here. All I have is hypothetical plans. I have a hypothetical photographer, videographer, venue, but that's as far as I've gotten because we have no money. What I'm asking is anyone taking out a loan for your wedding? I know that's so silly, but I don't really have any other choice. Because unless something crazy happens, I don't see myself somehow getting 30 grand in the next few months.
There is absolutely no other choice but to take out a loan. I guess delaying the wedding is just completely out of the question, even though you guys ended up buying a house, which puts you way farther ahead than most people today. That, of course, is not cheap to maintain and all the bills, but you're going to add on a $30,000 high interest loan to get married as well. What could go wrong?
Can you believe the audacity of the internet in telling me that I can either have a wedding for one night or buy a house in 48 states?
The internet is speaking the truth. Have a smaller wedding. Weddings don't have to be expensive. Brides believe they need an over-the-top celebration that costs 50 grand. Well, now in today's world, double it.
If you want to have a wedding, it's going to cost you 100K. I'm 2 months into wedding planning, and I'm going to share some of the rates that I've been quoted so you can properly plan or decide to elope. Starting with venues, and we're talking like full service venues, so food and bev are included. The lowest quote that we've received was 45K. That means you're looking at an average of $225 to like about $350 per person. We were actually quoted $650 per person at one venue, and I was like, thanks, goodbye. You will also typically see about a 2 to 3K additional charge if you want to have a ceremony on site. Then for videographer, photographer, you're looking at about 5 to 10K each. Bands have started to quote us at about 16K to 20K, and DJs started to quote us at about 6 to 10K. When it comes to florals, I want to bomb. For like a typical standard wedding, you're going to be spending about 8K as a starting price. Wedding dresses, you're going to start at about like 3K, and then you can go anywhere up to like 15K for those designer looks. Veils typically start at about $750. Oh, and boleros, a minimum of 1K. Then you have alterations, that starts at about 1K. And then you have hair and makeup. For the bride, that's gonna start at about $600. I was actually quoted $2,500 for my makeup, just my makeup.
Okay, so we're just going to cut it off there because this goes on and on with more expenses. We'll go over to the comment section though. I got married in 2021 and only spent $11,000. Maybe you need to adjust your expectations. As a photographer, I think you just have expensive taste. You keep getting quoted these prices because you're probably drawn to higher end vendors, so it's definitely going to cost more. These are not luxury prices. $60,000 to $100,000 all in is pretty average for New Jersey and New York these days. Wonder why I don't live there anymore. And even that won't get you all top tier vendors and frills. A true luxury wedding is easily $200,000. Well, I somewhat recently went to a wedding in New Jersey and the total cost was around $10,000. So 60 to 100K being average is just wildly off the mark. Unless you want to have that big Instagram production. Sorry, this isn't average. Everything being quoted would be considered luxury market. This is from Dusty, the wedding photographer. This is his job. That isn't a standard wedding, and it goes on and on.
So a friend of mine knows a couple who are going to get married soon, and between the two of them, they have around $100,000 saved. Now, the wife or the wife-to-be wants to spend about $100,000 on their wedding. And the husband also wants a wedding this big or, somewhere near it, but simultaneously wants for them to buy a home and start a family as soon as possible after getting married. If they go through with that expensive wedding, they will have nothing at the end of it. Absolutely nothing. I present that information to you to then ask, who in their right mind would ever think that this is a good idea? Who in their right mind would spend that much money on a wedding when it's every penny you have? Props to them for not wanting to go into debt for it. But are we being serious here? $100,000 wedding? I think if you even had $1 million net worth, having a $100,000 wedding is also stupid. But all the money you have on one day that no one the following day and every day after is going to remember or care about.
And we've gone over the consequences of doing something like this before, a clip up on screen. This was in my bad financial decisions video, where this guy on a podcast was still paying off his $50,000 wedding and they were about to have their 10-year anniversary. They took out loans and put it on credit cards. I mean, you're talking 20 to 30% interest rate. Is it really worth paying it off for a decade? I can't imagine so. And I am glad that some people are waking up to this, because even if you did have that kind of money in the bank, it could be put to use so much better than this party.
I will pay each of my daughters $35,000 not to have a wedding. Now, before you come at me, they each know that if they decide to have a wedding, that's totally okay. I will support it. I will pay for the wedding. They won't get a check, but I will pay for the wedding. I will be there and I will participate fully. They'll have a smaller budget and we'll make it nice. But if they choose not to have a wedding, they will get a check. And The reason I'm going to do that is because most married couples start off their marriage in debt. And the average cost of a wedding is about $35,000 right now. And to me, that is a huge waste of money. Now, that's my personal opinion. I got to have the big fancy poofy wedding. My husband and I spent the first 5 years of our marriage paying off that wedding debt. And if I could go back and invest that money in a home or the stock market or literally anything else and just have gone to the justice of the peace or had a small backyard family wedding, and then gone on a nice honeymoon and put the rest down on a house, that would have been a better start for us.
My dad gave me $12,000 to not have one 15 years ago. I quit my job and traveled Europe solo for a year, but I met my French husband there. My parents gave us $50,000 for my wedding. I used $15K for a down payment on a home, $10,000 for a month trip to Europe for a honeymoon, and we invested the other 25 grand. I'll say it over and over again until I'm blue in the face. One of the biggest reasons for the high divorce rate in today's world is financial stress.
The more expensive the wedding is, the higher chance of divorce. And this is not my opinion. The Monterey Law Group did a study and found that when couples have weddings that cost over $20,000, they were 1.6 times more likely to get a divorce. That means if you spend $20,000 on your wedding, you are 60% more likely to get a divorce than people who don't. I think there's 3 major things that cause that. Number 1, financial stress. When couples first get married, they're walking into their marriage with debt from their wedding, and that's immediately going to cause tension and resentment. Number 2, when couples do spend over $20,000 on their wedding, they are choosing to prioritize image over the functionality of their actual relationship. And lastly, the correlation with personality traits. Those who are drawn to extravagant displays often score higher in traits like narcissism and materialism, which are both linked to lower relationship satisfaction and longevity.
And I think a couple comments from you guys goes very well with this. Imagine going into debt for a one-day event that will ultimately be the deciding factor in the divorce a few years later. If you think a wedding costs a lot, wait until you talk to a divorce attorney. The whole reason to get married is to stay together forever, right? It's not really looking that way as much anymore. It's all about the wedding. But we'll finish off this video with a clip up on screen right now. Us happily married, full savings account, and 0 wedding debt. Bills paid, and watching you call us broke for having a $1,000 micro wedding. I also had a micro wedding, spending $2,000 max, didn't pull from our savings or investments. The goal is to marry your person, not the actual wedding. Exactly. I'd rather just get married in a courthouse and go on a nice vacation. No reason to go into debt for one day. That's what I was saying before as well. I would legitimately rather spend the $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 on an insane trip around the world.
I have seen multiple TikToks that people are taking out personal loans for their weddings, and as someone who works for Zola and the wedding industry, I just want to say, please do not go into major debt for your wedding. You and your partner and family should come together, be like, here's what we have to put forward, and then work within that budget. You're able to cut corners and skimp on things that may not mean as much to you, signage, napkins, things like that, but some of the bigger payments are going to be your vendors. Now, since I work at Zola, we have vendors send us in like advice and things that they want couples to know, and one of the main things that I did see from multiple people was that they will work with you for a payment plan. Additionally, sometimes you can go to these vendors and be like, this is my budget, what can I get for it? And there's no shame in making it a long engagement so you could save up and do these payments over 2-3 years. You are on your own timeline. All right, so please stop taking out personal loans. Love you, bye.
Okay, so I agree with the first half of that video and then disagree with the second half. First one, if you're taking out major loans for a wedding, it's just out of the question for me. Not even in my thought process. I think that's ridiculous. But especially with social media, it's become an increasing competition to see how elegant a one-night party could be. Posting it online, the videographers, all the fancy stuff, and because of that, these companies, like the one she works for, just make so much money off of you. But then the second half of the video, where you could work with them for 2 to 3 year payments for a wedding, that seems even worse than any of the car payment videos we've talked about. At least you have a vehicle that could get you from point A to point B. The day after your wedding, it's all gone, other than the photos and possible video that you'll get from hiring a videographer for a lot of money too. So I think in general, payment plans or taking out loans at all for a wedding is ridiculous. We have a comment from one of you guys. Screw the wedding, trip for two to Cancun. You pay the hotel to throw you a little wedding ceremony that isn't a giant production, and then you just enjoy your honeymoon. I don't understand why that hasn't become way more common. $20,000 to like $50,000 is pretty common for normal people now for a wedding, one single night. Like if you had that kind of money to spend, wouldn't you just have an unbelievable vacation slash honeymoon? I mean, for $40,000, $50,000, you could be gone traveling the world for like months. But it seems like a lot of people want to spend all that money for one single night.
The amount of times I've heard girls say, oh, I just want to get married for the wedding. Like the wedding is just so beautiful. I want like the dress and everything. Girl, are you crazy? Don't get married just for that. Because you can very easily get trapped in a situation that you don't want to be in 10 years from now. I feel like you really just want a photo shoot. Book a photo shoot. I don't know, go to JCPenney or get in contact with a local photographer. Get your photo shoot. If you still want to spend a lot of money, like you can spend money on the photo shoot, but marriage, like, do you want the guy that you're marrying? Or do you just want the wedding? Because the marriage is not going to last if it's just for the beautiful wedding. Like, just have a party. Just throw a party.
Now, I don't think that's a majority of cases. I feel like that's a very small percentage. But say if you actually did do that and then you believe that you were trapped several years later, even though that's 100% you're doing, I think that one's pretty interesting. But from what you could see from a lot of TikTok users, and some of them I'll show you in this video, it does seem to be an increasing competition the same way like lifestyle influencers will make it look like their life is perfect. You know, they're constantly going on vacations, they are beautiful, they have all of these brand deals, they make so much money. It's kind of the same way for a lot of weddings now for just normal everyday people. And then we start seeing these comments and these statistics because of it. Funny, these people that spend thousands on a wedding then get divorced in a year. We spent $30 on our wedding and then going on 45 years. Real quick, I actually know somebody and went to their wedding, I think almost 2 years ago now, that cost $50,000 and within 6 months they were divorced. So again, it's not the perfect example because it is a depreciating asset, but when you're getting to those prices, like would you rather have a single wedding night or a brand new SUV? Like that's how much money this is starting to cost for people. And then you start seeing the statistics, it's no surprise. A lot less people are getting married now. We're not even comparing it to, you know, like the 40s and 50s where that's just what you did. We're talking about 25 years ago, and in every age bracket, less and less people are getting married. You could see how much the marriage rate has plummeted starting from the 60s and see how quickly it's gone down. And I mean, this is one of the contributing factors. But then, of course, like we've talked about with the issues with social media and overconsumption and advertising, when you sit on your phone all day and you're scrolling and this is the kind of stuff you see where it's, oh, it's funny, look at how much money I still owe from my wedding vendors, even though when clearly it didn't seem like the wedding was yesterday. So she's still paying off a bill, basically like a car payment or a mortgage, but you get nothing in return. You already got all of the experience and the party, and now you're just left with the bill. But again, you keep seeing these videos, looking at the comments here, still paying mine off a year later. You guys looking at each other like, worst part of having a wedding. And then she responds, not a good way to financially start off this marriage, even though I think it's just widely known one of the biggest factors of divorce is money troubles. So right off the bat, you're going to start off this marriage in debt, even though it's one of the biggest reasons why people argue and is only going to get worse unless you both have really, really good jobs, and then at that point, you wouldn't be going into debt at all, so you wouldn't be in this situation. But with what we've seen with rent prices going up, cost of living in general, these normal people that are getting themselves into $40,000 of debt just for a wedding aren't making that much money, and now their dollar is having to be stretched even more just to survive. So if you're going to put yourself into that much debt immediately, it's basically just shooting yourself in the foot for the marriage to actually last. But from this same person, I think a lot of people are like this. A lot of her page is just dedicated to her wedding and all of the photos, and she liked the attention that she got from the pictures and the videos. I could almost pinpoint where you could see that she wanted the attention and all the crazy amount of debt for the elegant wedding, because one of her engagement videos got over 2 million views. So she got that dopamine hit just like we've seen with a whole bunch of other people making crazy content online. They get that one taste of attention and the dopamine, and then they really want it again, so they'll post more and more. And it's kind of the same thing with weddings that I've seen. Or they'll just see other pages getting a whole bunch of attention and they want to jump on the bandwagon and they want to get it too. And then they make videos like this, opening all your wedding cards and counting the money so you could finally pay off your credit cards, not even the marriage. So initially, again, talking about the debt and the issues with divorce because of that, having to bank off of the money you're getting from the attendees to your wedding to pay off your debt. Not really a good start to that marriage either, but these haha funny relatable TikToks really do put this kind of stuff in your brain, and it's almost just cute. You know, it's funny even though it's major life decisions and something that could alter it for several years if you have to pay back a whole ton of money. That means no emergency money if the car breaks down. That means no vacations. It just seems ridiculous to me for one single day. Spending $15,000 on a wedding just to get divorced 6 years later, at least like I said earlier, in my experience, that's much better than what I saw. It was $50,000 and it only took 6 months for all of that to be a complete waste. But still, $15,000 is clearly a ton of money. Another comment from you guys: don't get married to a girl that makes less than you. You have to pay alimony, you have to pay the wedding, you have to pay the honeymoon, you have to pay the divorce, you have to pay 2 lawyers, and yes, hers as well. She will chill in your house and never have to work again after she's bored of you. Now, this is a very red-pilled, almost black-pilled comment. So I mean, yes, pretty extreme, but I do understand because a good amount of this comment actually what happened to my dad. So this isn't something that comes out of nowhere. It's a 1 in a billion story. This stuff does actually happen. And hey, if you want to get married, I'm not saying that you shouldn't, but immediately putting yourself into debt, starting problems on day 1 of the marriage is definitely not the way to start. And with so many stories online of people having similar experiences to this, it's not really a surprise why the marriage rate has gone down and there's less relationships in general. We're not even just talking about actually being married. Most people wanting to stay single right now. All of the red pill content, all of the feminism content, basically man versus woman on all of these dedicated YouTube channels. And if you look them up, there are tons and tons of people who watch massive channels. So a lot of people agree with each side and what they say. When you can't fathom how people aren't stressed by debt, but remember you got a nose job and had a luxury wedding while in student loan debt. Probably one of the worst types of loan debts as we've seen in the past. Oh man, and I mean the comments, debt shouldn't stop you from living your life and accomplishing your goals. Her goals was to get a nose job. I will die on this hill, and that's why these people will be in cycles of debt forever. Credit card debt, interest loans, nonstop, having to be in the hole. But me and my boobies and May 2024 wedding, absolutely no regrets.
I got married 2 months ago and I'm on a financial recovery journey to rebuild my savings. The goal this month is to spend less than $1,000 on non-necessary items. I usually buy my lunch every day on the weekdays. This week I got a sandwich every day and it was about $15 a day. My ClassPass plan kicked in for the month and I got 68 credits for $139. I had an early Saturday, so I got coffee and breakfast from Starbucks. My newest obsession is crocheting, so I went to Michael's to get some supplies and then a smoothie after working out. I'm noticing on average I spend about $200 a week, which is okay, but next week's my birthday week.
Oh man. So she has no money 2 months after the wedding. Again, nobody cares about it. That's 60 days after. Who's even talking about it anymore? Anybody who came to the wedding, it's not like they're still texting going, oh, that was a great night 60 days ago. Then she said, Then she said she had to spend way less just to start building up her bank account, even though she ate out every single day. She got the Starbucks and the snacks and then got a whole bunch of yarn from Michael's and more fancy drinks. And then she said at the end it would be even worse coming up because it's her birthday. And then you wonder why people stay into debt forever. And honestly, I'm on the side that skipping the Starbucks coffee like every day or every other day, whatever people get it, won't just magically make you rich. Even though, yes, it is pretty expensive, but if you do have some money, it's not like it's going to be the game changer between you becoming upper class super wealth and being a normal middle class person. However, from her wiping out her savings account and still not having anything saved up months after the wedding and spending all of this extra kind of money, even though she's intentionally trying to live frugally, what does it look like when she actually has a little bit of money? I bet she spends a ton. So that one to me was just too far. But we have another comment from you guys. Weddings. We got married in one of the gardens at the hotel that I'm not going to pronounce because I'm probably going to say it wrong. The trip was our honeymoon. Justice of the peace, $35. Best $50,000 we never spent. Again, I thought marriages were supposed to be to marry each other and become one family. But from what I've actually recently saw from TV shows about 25 years ago, I was rewatching Friends in the background, you know, when I'm doing work. I haven't watched that show in forever, and there's almost an entire season, if you did watch that show, that is completely based on two of the characters getting married. And it seems like the woman's entire existence was to just talk about the wedding and the vendors and all the crazy stuff and how much it was going to cost and just all of the stuff we've talked about. And when the man she was supposed to be marrying made a joke saying that it was all this money for just one single party, she looked at him and said, well, if you keep calling it a party, you're not going to be invited. And it was supposed to be a joke, haha. But again, that starts to plant the seed that this whole marriage is supposed to be for the wedding and the party and not actually marrying each other. And that was 25, 30 years ago. I think the show's was around the late 90s, early 2000s, so about 30 years. And it has just become exponentially worse with the amount of advertising and social media we consume now. All day, every day. It's not even just sitting down and watching a 30-minute show. You could get hours and hours of this footage if you just keep scrolling. And then we have the classic, this is becoming a regular on the show, the paying off debt trend. So now it becomes your problem for somebody making poor financial decisions. And then we just have this guy begging for bogus TikTok views and engagement to try to make money off of TikTok to pay his debt from his wedding.
Hey, I'm just a broke teacher and I have a wedding to pay off. So if you would just watch this video and comment how many reps I do of push-ups or something like that, or share it. Can you share it, please? That'd be great. But the rest of the video is me doing push-ups.
That is some top tier online content. Thank God I watched that. I swear, people will do anything but take responsibility for their actions. They'll beg people online to somehow pay off their tens of thousands of dollars worth of debt. And I've said it every time we've shown it. TikTok basically gives you no ad revenue. You need to get an unbelievable amount of views. And I'm not even talking about, oh, millions of views. It needs to be tens and hundreds of millions of views to get a sizable amount of money off of TikTok. So just begging people to watch and comment and share the video, please, it'll help me. Like, you're not going to make any money off of it. You're just a beggar.
You want to know why millennials are so poor? Why we can't afford houses? It's because of all the fucking destination weddings we're making each other go to. It's not the boomers' fault, dude. It's fully our fault. Like, I could have put a down payment on a very nice 2-bedroom house in Bozeman, Montana for the amount of money I've spent on bachelor parties and weddings alone the past 2 years. The worst part is, it's never like an easy place to get to. The wedding is always in a ranch, on an airship docked at the top of the Nepalese mountain. I swear to God, the next day of the date is going to say, please join us on our dream wedding in 1905 Tsarist Russia. Use code LOVE for 5% off the time traveling ticket. Like, get the
That was pretty good. And I thought the comments were funny because it is very true, which at the same time is very stupid to me. The thing is about destination weddings is that they invite you as a courtesy, hoping you don't go. So what's the point of having a wedding anyway? Isn't the wedding supposed to be the party of the families and friends getting together? So why would you go super far away to have virtually nobody show up because it's so expensive for them to even get to your wedding, let alone the gift and the dresses or the suit that you have to wear? What's the point of having it then? Again, spend no money on the wedding and have an unbelievable honeymoon/vacation and just disappear in Europe for like a month or two. I feel like that would be much more fun than any single party, even if it's in Hawaii or some crazy place like that. As an old millennial, my last destination wedding was in 2012. I get invited to more divorce parties now. Surprising, you wonder why more and more people my age don't want to get married at all. Here we have some articles, some graphs, so we could go into some statistics instead of just people's experiences on TikTok. 31% of Americans who have attended a wedding in the past 5 years has taken out debt to do so. That's not even 31% of the people getting married. That's 31% of people just going to a wedding. That's insane to me. 45% of newlyweds went into debt for their weddings, and it's causing marital problems. Shocker. Who would have thought? We got a lot of stats here. 45% of Americans 18 to 53 who were married within the last 2 years went into debt for their wedding. Almost half. 76% of newlyweds who went into debt say they argued about wedding-related expenses with their partner. So you're starting arguments that wouldn't have existed if you didn't spend so much money just trying to get married. Nearly half, 40% of newlyweds who went into wedding debt said money caused them to contemplate divorce. Starting something from nothing. 1 out of 2 people thought about calling it quits just because of the amount of money it cost for the wedding. 36% who had wedding debt say they argue with their partner about money often. 4 in 10 newlyweds who didn't go into debt saved monetary gifts they received, compared to just 10% with wedding debt who put their cash into savings. Instead, 40% of couples with wedding debt used the money to fund their honeymoon. So when they were already in the negative from the wedding, they still took a bunch of the money that they somewhat got back from the gifts and just dumped it right back into a nice little vacation. Most worth it wedding expense wasn't the wedding itself. Nearly 27%, it was their honeymoon. Again, the vacation I think would be awesome. 45% of recently married Americans did not discuss debt with their partner before getting engaged, so you have no idea if you guys are on the same page, and we'll just add on into one of the reasons why there's so much divorce. Here you can see a quick graph of what was most worth it for the wedding, which I thought was pretty nuts that the videographer was only 2%. If anything, if you really wanted to have the elegant wedding and all the crazy stuff so you could put it online and show off how much money you spent and how beautiful the dress was in the cake and blah blah blah, wouldn't the photographer and the videographer be one of the most important things for all of the pictures that you can hang up on the wall? And I mean, the video could actually show the entire venue instead of just snapshot images of what happened. You could see everything like it would be a vlog on YouTube. So I thought that was very interesting. I feel like videographer and photographer would probably be the second most important thing, but I guess I'm wrong. But now in 2023, the average cost of a wedding is $35,000, excluding the engagement ring, by the way. So you're adding on at least $1,000, if not more. Of course, you could go absolutely through the roof. You know, rings and jewelry could get unbelievably expensive. This I thought was very interesting as well. In Japan, joihatsu, I think, probably said that wrong, refers to people who disappear due to pressures of failed marriages, debt, and job loss. They abandon their lives and live anonymously off the grid. Specialized companies called night movers assist them in vanishing completely. So I know this is on the other side of the world, at least if you live in the US like I do, but with all of these issues with marriage and divorce and just increasing the probability, especially getting into debt, there are people who will disappear off the planet and live completely off the grid because of how embarrassing that whole ordeal was. Pretty insane to me, but we'll start switching gears. We'll start listening to people with more level-headed ideas.
And one of the major things that people go into debt about is the wedding. How do you know how much to budget for your wedding?
Yes, do not go into debt over your wedding. Point blank. Don't do it. Look, I've been married 15 years coming up. I have not thought about my wedding one time this week. I don't think I thought about it last week either.
Right.
And I'm pretty sure, you know what I'm saying? Do you see where I'm going with this?
I know
The
exactly
wedding
where you're
is
going.
the wedding is a great day. It's a great party, but it fades into the background of your life. You don't wake up every morning going, "Oh, my wedding was the best day of my life, and I'm so glad that I spent $80,000." You don't
Right.
do that.
Right.
It goes away and you live your life. So I think in the moment when you're excited because you should be and you're getting married and all that's going on, you can really get caught up. Don't get caught up, because what's more important is starting out your relationship with no debt.
And this seems completely level-headed and almost something you should already know. Pretty basic statements she said, but that has become increasingly uncommon now, especially in the age of social media. And I feel like people need to hear this more often, because you're kind of getting into the keeping up with the Joneses level of weddings now. Not even just, you know, the house, the car, the white picket fence, all of that. I second the wedding mistake. We didn't go into debt and we're still together, but I'm sick over the money wasted. This is a little clip we've had in a video quite a while ago, several months ago, of somebody talking about her mistakes, but she does definitely make some pretty good points.
If there is one financial regret I have in my almost 30 years of living, it would be spending $30,000 on a wedding. The wedding industry has all of us girlies in a chokehold, making us feel like we need to prove something to everyone around us and have this massive, expensive, beautiful wedding.
And we have a comment from one of you guys about that video. Did anyone else notice that the 30K wedding girl isn't wearing a wedding ring? I guess she wanted the wedding more than the marriage. Seems to be increasingly more popular in today's age. The wedding girl is 100% correct. My wife and I spent less than $1,500 on rings, including our wedding and festivities. And most of that was on the rings. Still love each other to this day. And I'll just play the clip over here because it just has copyrighted music, but this kind of wedding, it's not really like the wedding as in the party super expensive stuff. If you're in this kind of a relationship and decide to get married, I could almost guarantee that these are the ones that actually last in today's world, because you don't care about the super amazing venue or the destination wedding or the unbelievably expensive, custom made wedding dress and the cake and the decorations, etc., etc. If you genuinely want to get married because you actually love each other and you don't really care about the party, you will definitely last longer than most people in today's world. Here we have another comment from you guys. My husband and I were offered $30K to use for a wedding from my parents. We married in a court and used the money as a down payment on our first house. Best decision ever. And I think that is a very good transition into the next video.
Bride recently used her $50,000 wedding contribution from her parents as a down payment on a house and eloped instead, and the parents are furious. But her reason has a lot of Reddit users on her side. Let's just get into it. When the bride got engaged, her parents gave her $50,000 to use on her wedding, but instead she chose to elope and use the money for a down payment on a new house for her and her fiance. Her reasoning is that when her brothers graduated college, they received $50,000 for a new home, but she never received the same financial gift. When she questioned her parents about it, they suggested that the husband was supposed to provide for her in that way. Now a lot of Reddit users are calling out her parents' double standards. What do you think? Do you think it was her choice to do with that money as she pleases, or should the parents have gotten some say, or even at least been invited to a wedding?
So I mean, this could go both ways. Now, I do think it's much better to put a down payment on a house. I mean, that's the beginning of your life, and that $50,000 can honestly really help you in life in the long run. Say if you had extra money saved up and then get a free $50,000 to put on a down payment in a house, you could either get a bigger house or a better house, a little bit more expensive, possibly get an even better deal in an area that's up and coming and the value of the property will go up. Just make it much better financially in life because of that. But at the same time, it was for a wedding. Like she said, her brothers got a free $50,000. I mean, it really is like a 50-50, but overall, I think it is a much better decision to buy your first house with your partner instead of spending it on a wedding. So, I mean, overall, this is a very controversial topic because you have a lot of people who don't want to get married at all, and I think that's pretty understandable. There's a lot of people who really want to get married for the wedding, it seems like, and get all that attention online from their family and their friends and possibly just strangers being jealous of them, and then they could get more attention and build off of that. And I think it is just one of the contributing factors to less marriages just happening in general, and then the, of course, wild divorce rate that we've had for so many years.
In fact, money woes are one of the leading causes of divorce in the US. For every 10 marriages, 4 end in divorce because of money.
Before you let Emily Mariko's wedding influence your future wedding, just pause and realize that this is not normal life.
It will take me another 16 years to get that credit card paid off.
So we're getting into the time of year where a lot of people are planning to have their weddings. And unfortunately, when we take a look at these stats, that means a lot of people are also going into debt. A significant number of newly married couples go into debt to pay for their wedding. LendingTree reports that 67% of newlyweds took out debt for their wedding. Similarly, US News found that 50% of newlyweds did the same thing. So we're talking about 1 out of every 2 couples doing this for a one-day party. We're going to be going over a lot today, how long it's going to take to pay the debt off, how this can affect the marriage as a whole, and why this is so common in today's world. We also have some comments from you guys from previous videos, so if you want to be featured on a future video, leave in the comments down below. But let's just start off with this.
This woman is going to her wedding, and she went into $60,000 of debt in order to throw this wedding, and she's not the only one. The The average wedding in America is $30,000. And the typical size of a wedding is 100 guests, and each guest costs around $266. That's a lot of money, and people are literally going into debt throwing these weddings. So why? The wedding industry is notoriously expensive. Services for a wedding generally cost more than if you were to have those same services at another event. For example, catering for a retirement party would likely be a lot less than catering for a wedding. Vendors say that because weddings are so high pressure, there's an added cost. But critics call the pricing a wedding tax. And what's worse is the price is going up. 77% of wedding vendors say they're increasing their rates. They say it's because of inflation, but technically inflation has gone down. Here's some data to show what services are getting more expensive. As you can see, the top 3 are DJs, makeup artists, and flowers. And interestingly, grooms' outfits are getting cheaper. What's crazy is despite everything getting more expensive, people are still willing to pay.
Which sounds absolutely insane to me, and that adds into the 50 or 60% of people getting into debt for this party, even though it's widely known how much of a ripoff it is. Apparently because of the high pressure environment, yeah right, but we could get into the reasoning why this is happening now.
That's because there's basically a backlog of weddings. The pandemic made some people delay their weddings, and now they want to have a big party. So you're likely to start seeing a trend of very lavish weddings. And people are willing to pay up, even that means going into debt for it. Which I don't fully support because financial problems can lead to bad marital problems. In fact, money woes are one of the leading causes of divorce in the US. For every 10 marriages, 4 end in divorce because of money. Do you think taking out debt for a wedding is a good idea? Personally, I actually know a few people who have, but I also know a lot of people who have had their parents pay for everything.
Okay, so we're going to talk about the parents paying for everything in a second, but the statistic that almost 40% of divorces are because of money issues. I've talked about this before. You're putting yourself behind the 8 ball at the very beginning of your marriage, let alone the high cost of living and trying to own a house or have children in today's world. You're going to put yourself into tens of thousands of dollars worth of debt just to have the party after you get married, and then statistically have a even larger chance of divorce compared to how bad it already is now. It just seems absolutely ridiculous to me. We have a comment from one of you guys. I bartend weddings in Tahoe. You wouldn't believe what people spend on the venue, food and beverages, DJ and band, wedding coordinators, flowers, hair and makeup, cake, photography and videography, a photo booth, party favors, transportation. It's a big business. And I wholeheartedly agree with that. We're going to see a breakdown of a crazy expensive wedding cost in a second, but we're going to go back to that clip with parents paying for their kids' weddings. So if you are the couple getting married, you're obviously not going to go into debt for it, but that doesn't mean the parents aren't going to.
This is crazy. Today is my daughter's 2nd wedding anniversary, and I cannot wait for her 18th wedding anniversary. Why? That's insane, right? Well, because that's when I will have the credit card finally paid off that I used to put on her beautiful wedding. I am an idiot. So we didn't have money, of course, for the wedding. Who does? And so I said, listen, I'm just going to put everything on my credit card and we will figure it out. We did everything ourselves. We rented a tent, put it in my parents' pasture. Like, I did all the florals myself. I mean, we bargain hunted for everything. Like, we really did. It was a beautiful wedding, but we did it as frugally as possible. And now at the rate that I am currently paying on my credit card, I pay $350 a month, which to me is every extra penny I have. It will take me another 16 years to get that credit card paid off.
What is the thought process to do so? You clearly didn't have the money to do this, which already sounds like a much cheaper wedding than the average $30,000 or anything else we're going to see in this video, but you still made the decision with the amount of income you make to now pay off this wedding in 16 years. I'm kind of speechless from that one, and the description doesn't make it much better. $9,000 doesn't seem like that much money. I mean, maybe in comparison to all these extravagant weddings, $9 grand isn't a lot, but I would say anybody on the planet would like a free $9,000 in their bank account, but I'll end up paying 10 times that by the time my credit card is paid off. That's an insane choice to make just for a wedding party. And you want to see even crazier? We have a set of screenshots from this wedding budget breakdown of $97,000, almost a 6-figure wedding. How could the wedding cost that much? Let's break it down. The venue and catering total is $65,732. I'm sorry, even with all the car videos and me talking about getting a used car because how much watch new vehicles depreciate so quickly, I'd rather pay $60,000 for a brand new vehicle and $5,000 for a very small wedding, because at least you get something out of it somewhat long term. Other than the photos and possible videos of this wedding, nobody's really going to remember it a few weeks after it happens, but we'll keep going. Catering, $260 per person. With 150 guests, that turns into $39,000 plus a 25% admin fee on the total. What does that even mean? Just another 25% tax. Okay. Stationery, another $1,300. So everything that was set up on the tables. Flowers and decor, almost $8,000. $8,000 for flowers. Photography, $5,600. Bridal look, around $10,000. The dress and alterations was almost $9,000. Hair and makeup, another $1,400. Day of coordination, another $1,600, so I guess the coordinator for the whole day. DJ, almost $3,300 again. And then miscellaneous. Groom suit, $600. Wedding ring, $800. Venue insurance, another $200. Bridesmaid's gift, $300. And then other various expenses here and there, you know, whatever. Just a quick $100,000. Some of the comments from this post, anyone spending $100,000 on a wedding is so obscenely brainwashed by consumerism. Damn, $97,000, I'd buy a house. I mean, at least a solid down payment. Or what I've said previously, if you do have that kind of money, I thought it would be a better idea to have a smaller wedding and then have an insane honeymoon. Go travel around for weeks or months around the world. I feel like that would be a lot cooler than just one wedding party. And I'll say the same thing that I do with the car payment videos. If you are genuinely super wealthy and have an ungodly amount of money, then yeah, spend $100K on a wedding. Spend $1 million, I don't care. But as we saw at the beginning of this video, more than half of everybody getting married is going into debt for this, means they cannot afford it. And what many people are starting to see, especially with social media, is that a lot of these weddings have gotten so extravagant to show off to other people online. It's not really about the marriage anymore. It's about how many likes you get on Facebook, on Instagram. We have another comment from one of you guys, wedding photographer here, and yeah, let me inform you. 50 to 60% of weddings, the client wants a wedding, not a marriage. They look for the IG pictures and stories. Doesn't really seem too worth it to me to get into 5 or 6 figures worth of debt just for that dopamine hit and that attention online for a week, maybe?
I just got married about a month ago.
Oh, that's exciting. Way to go.
Thank you. We combined all of our finances and we had a plan to pay for the wedding, and that plan did not go accordingly. So we ended up going into a bit of debt on top of some pre-existing debt. So now we're just kind of looking for advice as newlyweds to
what
start it off right. We were living with family, so we were able to set some money aside. We weren't really paying rent, and that plan faded, and we ended up moving out and getting into a house, which of course in Denver, the rent is skyrocketing.
So how much?
That kind of took our wedding budget away from us, but we weren't really willing to compromise on the wedding, which was not a good financial decision by any means.
Oh, so we went into debt. Oh, how much money did you take a loan out for this wedding?
We took about $32,000. Well,
$32,000 for a wedding?
Taking out a loan for that is the price of a brand new Corolla, which I know is not some flashy, awesome vehicle, but still a utility that's pretty reliable and can get you from point A to point B for the foreseeable future, but not compromising because they had to start paying rent moving out of their parents' house so they couldn't save enough money is crazy reasoning to take a $30,000+ loan out for their wedding. Another experience from you guys, my aunt married for $30,000 in the 80s, so that's significantly more now. I actually want to look it up. Okay, wow. That was actually worse than I thought. $30,000 in 1980 is worth $116,431 today in 2025. Loans and multiple credit cards maxed out. She spent 10 years paying it off. I guess that's better than the previous clip with the parent going to take 16 years to pay off her credit card. I got married in 1999 at the courthouse, dinner with family after, and party at my place with friends after that. $100 for the marriage license, judge, and booze. Been married 25 years, no regret. I know almost all of my videos I sound like a grumpy old man, but it just seems to me if you have these super extravagant, expensive weddings, compared to just going to the courthouse and having a very small party or dinner with family that doesn't cost nearly as much, you probably got married for the right reasons compared to the $116,000 with today's inflation and wanting to have all the pictures and videos to put online to show off to your friends. But even with all of these examples, statistics, all the numbers, you'll still have conversations that are like this all the time.
You're
going into $50,000 worth of debt for your wedding. Yeah, I mean, it's important to us. You make 70 grand a year. This would be almost your entire annual salary. Look, we've waited a long time for this. It matters. Dude, I am not saying don't get married. I'm saying don't start your marriage off with a bill you can't pay. We'll figure it out. How? Dude, 50K is not just numbers. It's years. We're not being reckless, okay? We've ran the numbers on what we need, and this is what it is. This is gonna follow you for a very long time. Okay, so what are you suggesting? We just skip the wedding? No, I'm saying do it differently. Do it more scrappy, smaller. Save for a year. Just delay it for a year. What's a year? You'll have tons of money saved up, and you'll be way better off if you do something like that. It won't feel the same. It will still feel special, even if it's not right this second or it's not the biggest thing ever. But if you do something like this, I mean, it could jeopardize both of your financial futures for years to come. We've just always wanted the moment to feel big, you know? And it will, man. It's still your wedding. You really don't want to remember that as a day you regret.
I don't know if it was the Disney fairy tale ending that was beat into all of our heads as a little kid, but so many people want the day to be absolutely perfect and will do anything and everything to try to live out that dream, even though it could ruin you financially, including the relationship. We have a comment that's very similar from one of you guys. So often we hear those trying to justify an expensive wedding saying it's the most important day of your life. They're wrong. Today is the most important day of your life. Live each day fully and stop fantasizing about some childish fairy tale you can't afford. And so many people get angry about that online. There are memes all over the place like this. When people ask me how the wedding planning is going and I've only paid for my dress with a almost $4,000 charge to begin with, and you could see by her reaction that's something she most likely can't afford. But these will be the same people complaining that they'll never be able to own a house because of how expensive it is, which overall they're not wrong, but spending $50,000 on a wedding like the last clip could be a solid down payment to actually own a house. But no, you absolutely had to have that big party. So we could start getting into the wedding vendors and how insane their pricing is. Just a clip up on screen right now of this woman looking at a wedding weekend food and beverage minimum of $150,000. The site fee alone at this hotel is $70,000. Like, this kind of stuff is truly unbelievable to me. It doesn't get better in the comments. A florist quoted me a minimum of $12,000 for my wedding. I found a different one and just bought what I needed for $4 grand. Still crazy high. The industry is a literal robbery, and they know exactly what they're doing. They're taking advantage because so many people want the day to be absolutely perfect. I got a quote back from the florist and it was $13,000. My entire wedding is coming in at 20 grand. Those prices made my jaw drop. I know in comparison still way less than the 150,000, but it's just crazy to me what people are willing to spend for this event.
So on average, I would say that the low end of weddings, there's no way that you're getting out for under 40 grand.
Wow.
I'd say majority of my weddings are spending 60.
$60,000.
Yep. And I've got 3 in November that are spending 70.
This feels extremely close to the car payment videos where we see all of the salespeople have $1,000 or $1,500 car payments, trying to make you think that a $600 or $700 car payment isn't that bad because, you know, they're paying $1,000 or $1,500, $2,000. So saying the absolute bare minimum is $40,000, I have some people spending $70, puts the same thing into your brain that, oh, you know, $40,000 I guess isn't that bad. As if anybody could just pull 40 grand out of their pocket. The comments did not take this very well. You could absolutely have a wedding for under $40,000. That's insane. We're doing ours for $10,000. I eloped for less than $2,000 under a waterfall. Best decision of my life. Many comments like that. My wedding cost $50 for the certificate, and we're 13 years going strong. Don't start your life in debt to put a show on for other people. All these comments are funny. This is different times, people. The post-COVID price boom on weddings is insane. But if we go back to the first clip with all of those statistics, a lot of the pricing for the wedding events have actually outpaced inflation, which I don't need to tell you has already been crazy over the past 5 years. So it seems like these people are taking advantage even more. My wedding's next year and we're on track to be under 10,000. There's absolutely a way to do it for less than 40,000. That's crazy. So that post-COVID boom, she's having a 2026 wedding and doing it for way less than this. With how ridiculous this comment was, the original poster did not take this very well. Started blaming apparently different states, and wherever you live, that's the reason why the prices are different. I'd say a lot of you live in different states, and that's the difference difference in pricing, but that's just me. People like nice things, nothing wrong with that. I'll say it again, if you genuinely have this kind of money to spend on a wedding, then go do it. That's fine, I don't care. But with the stats we saw, clearly not many people actually have the funds. But just trying to normalize this throughout all society will hurt everybody financially over the long run. Now I have a little compilation of Caleb Hammer's guests on the financial audit because it's pretty common for a lot of these people who are bad with money and in a lot of debt to also not be able to afford their weddings they spend a ton of money on. Surprise, surprise.
Dad, is it a small wedding, big wedding? Have we paid for it?
It's a mid-size wedding, I think.
Okay, cost?
$12,000. I put it on a credit card.
The whole thing?
Yeah, there's a couple more expenses that need to be paid for.
Yeah.
So like the cake, and we're gonna add some guests, and that will cost more money.
You guys were not ready for marriage.
No.
Good thing we spent $25,000 on the wedding.
We did rush into marriage.
Oh! How much was the wedding?
At least $11,000 spent on the wedding.
We are 6 figures in debt. It's all bad debt.
Yeah.
That last one is a perfect example, putting on a show for others. You have some people having crazy weddings to show off to other people online for that validation and attention, and others saying that this isn't about you, this is for your family, all the guests. You have to put on this big party for us. Like, it's basically a lose-lose situation. I don't even know what to say. We have another comment from one of you guys. I've turned down being in several weddings and destination bachelorette parties, and I feel no guilt about it. Because even with the big financial burden on yourself to throw this big party, some people have destination weddings, so you have to fly to the other side of the world, making all of your guests pay way more money just to attend. You could add on the bachelor or bachelorette parties too, and the cost just starts racking up.
If you're planning a wedding right now, it's important to consider the financial obligation you're putting on other people by having that wedding. Of course, people can say no to your RSVP, but they're going to feel very bad about missing your important life milestone, especially if they are a very close friend or family member. Society needs to normalize intelligent financial decisions. And when you choose to have a huge party for your wedding, you are making a lot of people close to you more broke in the process, whether you want to or not.
We have a screenshot here as well. Being a bridemaid can be incredibly expensive. Here's the cost of a destination wedding I did not attend. The destination bachelorette party, $600 plus 4 days off of work. All-inclusive resort 4 nights, almost $2,500, another 5 days off of work, 9 days of dog boarding, $720, international flight, $1,200, the bridesmaid dress, $160, hair and makeup, $200, a wedding gift, $150, in total over $5,500. I would normally say, how are people making these types of choices for both themselves and all the guests that all attend? With all the cost of living videos that I've made, virtually everything you could think of being sky-high prices right now, let alone these types of expenses, but people are just swiping their cards, getting into a whole bunch of debt with 20 or 30% interest rates, and then sometimes never getting out of that hole. It really seems like a nightmare to me, and to add on to it, going to any of these wedding venues, you'll still have experiences like this.
People do choose to get married right here. Of course, this is an extra 50 grand. Watch your step, guys. What size is your wedding party? You have to have like 11 or 2. I will say each blade of grass is around $10,000. Is included only on Tuesdays.
Oh, was there construction?
Oh, yeah. But if you would like the cones removed on your wedding day, of course, that will be an extra $12,000. And of course, we do have an outhouse for guests. It's because you have to pay $20 to use the restroom inside the venue. So if you don't want that option, you can hike it on out here. We will have golf carts for your wedding day, of course.
Oh, are they included in the package?
Oh no, they're not included in it. Guys, I want you to take it all in. You, me, her. Here comes the bride moment.
Oh, we really love that tree.
Oh, that tree? If you want that tree, it's gonna be $5,000. We do have a floral company here.
Do we have to use that company?
Thursdays, you don't have to use the floral company. Of course, they are $50,000. And the best part is we have a getaway car included, no cost. It doesn't run right now. And we do have a jet skiing option if you would like to jet ski down the aisle.
Well, we really like it.
Okay, so when are y'all thinking?
About 2 years from now.
Okay, so we're booked for like six more years.
Some of the comments, the usage of a beach for a beach venue was an extra $500. I do hate the wedding industry. They charge so much money for just average things. Don't forget the photographer that charges an extra $1,000 to get digital photo files. Me right now trying to plan my wedding, but it's so much. Shocker. Another comment from one of you guys, I was so close to being in wedding debt. My wife and I were planning a wedding at a small venue in Massachusetts. The venue alone was $28,000 and the whole wedding would have cost $40,000. We got married at City Hall instead and then traveled to Greece. Exactly what I said before. If you really wanted to spend that kind of money, I think a honeymoon for weeks or months, traveling around wherever with your partner is a lot cooler than a venue that was $20,000 to begin with. The whole industry is getting so scummy that we're starting to see scams that go along with it.
The New Yorker just published what you could call a hit piece on the wedding website The Knot. The author did an investigation to see if The Knot is sending fake brides, fake leads to its wedding vendors. They go into the initial economics of a wedding. Each year, Americans drop roughly $70 billion hosting weddings. In New York City, the average wedding costs about $80,000. Even modest weddings, they have about 14 vendors. They also go into why people become wedding vendors. They talked to a person that does wedding conferences. He says a lot of people go into this industry because they're good at something. They make good cakes, and the family says, you should go into the wedding cake business. But being good at something doesn't mean you're good at running a business. So The Knot makes money from vendors by saying, hey, you advertise your services on our website, theknot.com, and we'll get you leads. We'll get brides to reach out to you to hopefully, use your service. So this person was roped into getting a very expensive advertising tier. Once they did that, a torrent of leads arrived via The Knot's online vendor portal. And then he talked to the customers by phone, but it felt like all the brides were reading from a script. I could hear other calls in the background, and they all had the same lilting tone. The Knot denied they do any of this. They said there's no reason to do this, but more than 20 wedding vendors who advertised with The Knot told the author that they received inquiries from what they've believed are fake brides. One vendor spent $12,000 on The Knot, got nothing. Almost tanked their business.
No matter where you look in this day and age, there are scams everywhere. That's why I have a running series on my channel just showing you the different types that I see all the time. We have another comment from one of you guys. All 5 of the weddings that I photographed are divorced. Guess I'm bad luck. Now, I know people going into marriage don't expect to get a divorce, at least most of the time, but these statistics don't lie. So if you do want to pay the prices that the wedding industry is charging, there's still a decent chance that all of this could be for nothing. And like I said before, at least with my experiences watching a lot of people on TikTok as well, typically the cheaper the wedding, the longer the marriage actually lasts, because those people genuinely just wanted to be married to each other. They didn't want a crazy expensive party. But we could take a look at a clip talking about debt even before getting married.
Should you marry someone that has debt? It's a question I get, and my answer is maybe. Here's the thing, 86% of couples that will get married, one of them will be bringing debt into the marriage. So it's not a question of if you have debt, do I marry you? It is more, what do you think about debt? AKA, how do you want to live your life with money? Do you want your lifestyle to be? Do you constantly want to be above the income line? Do you want to match and spend everything we make? Do you want to live below our income, right? So it's more of a lifestyle question. And when debt is in the picture, it's usually because you're living above what you make, and so you have payments, whether it's car payments, credit cards, personal loans, whatever it may be. So the question is not, should I marry someone with debt? It's, should I marry someone that has the same value system as I do when it comes to life and money? And that answer is yes.
I would still say in today's world, there's a lot of people right now seeing their potential partners in a lot of debt, and that's an instant no for them. So having debt could affect your life more than just having a monthly payment. But I do agree with being on the same page financially is a very important thing in a relationship, but that stat at the beginning of 86% is wild to me.
Unpopular opinion, postpone the wedding. If you have credit card debt, student loan debt, any type of consumer debt, postpone the wedding. Let me tell you why. If you are coming into a marriage with a negative net worth, like so many people are nowadays, especially because of student loans, why would you want to dig that hole deeper for 2-3 day celebration? Wouldn't it be even more powerful if the first thing that you did as a couple was to pay off all of that debt so that you can start in a financially stable place? You and the person that you are going to be with for the rest of your life can go to the courthouse and get married. We did. Then as a newlywed team, make a plan to pay off your debt. We did. And then celebrate that accomplishment with a wedding. We did. Coming from experience, I can tell you a wedding is so much sweeter when you don't wake up the day after having to face tens of thousands of dollars of debt. So set your marriage up for success by practicing a little bit of delayed gratification and postpone the wedding.
But that's almost unheard of now. We all want instant gratification. We're paying for items with Klarna just so we could get the newest iPhone or some sort of product. The Nintendo Switch 2, that's like $500 now. And a good portion of the reason why people go into debt for these weddings is because they're comparing themselves to others, whether they're influencers, celebrities, their friends online. Everything's intertwined with social media, and it starts warping your brain.
Before you let Emily Mariko's wedding influence your future wedding, just pause and realize that this is not normal life. Okay, but this is normal life. People in budget wedding groups all over Facebook. She does not have a normal life. Marry the love of your life. Enjoy your day. Don't go into debt to try to prove something to other people who don't matter.
So I could probably come out with a video like this weekly, but there'll still be some people going into debt and possibly never getting ahead financially. Hopefully this video can deter some people from possibly being in the same situation if they're at this point in the road in their life. But that's all I got for you guys today. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. YouTube thinks you'll like this video popping up on screen right now, but hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like, and I'll talk to you guys later.